Hello everybody and welcome back to the labs. I am Toasty and I have a window in my way. There we go. And today we are continuing our mod spotlight on ExtraUtilities. I forgot to tell you last time what I was on. I am on Minecraft 1.7.10 on the Bevo tech pack that you can get on the ATLauncher. The links are in the description for that. And it's only modified slightly for my Infinity Labs playthrough with the Reclaimer. For now, though, we are on episode 2 of our ExtraUtilities Spotlight. Let's begin. We left off last time looking at filters. So we looked at the just generic default bog standard use for item filters. Now we're going to look at a couple of the advanced uses. You can see here I've got some fancy technicolored pipes. Well, we looked at the method of extracting or filtering the extraction of items. Well, that's only helpful to an extent, in my opinion. When you have something like an auto mining system, you really just want to pull everything out and filter where it goes instead of just what you're getting. So for our purposes, we're going to look here. I've got only diamonds, redstone, peridot, ruby, and some Thaumcraft shards in this chest. That's because I have an item filter pipe right here. Item filter pipes are what allow you to filter the input of items as opposed to just the extraction. So you can see I've got a couple of filters here. I have the item filter, which includes diamond, redstone, peridot, fire shard, entropy shard, air shard, water shard, or ruby and ore shards. Now, I have a better idea for this filter in a moment, but I'll show that to you when I move to these more advanced, even more advanced use of the filter. But for now, that's what's happening. ExtraUtilities pipes work in such a way that they are trying to be very easy on your system. There are no entities floating back and forth through the items. Nothing actually gets transferred until they find somewhere to go. So that's what the point of this internal buffer is. You always know what it's working on, and if it's clogged, you can fix it without breaking the system. So, right now, it's working on the entropy shard, and it's searching through the system to find your best chest for it. Alright? As it searches, it'll input into the first viable inventory every time. So regardless of whether or not it is there are empty chests behind this, as long as there is space in the first inventory slot, that's where it'll input its items. And you can rely on that. So long as it is the first path with the least amount of piping between it, that's where it will go. Now, if you have a path like this, where I have a transfer node here that I was extracting stone from, you can see here that the stone is getting extracted and the crystal chests are both filling up. That's because, though it may or may not look like it to you, they are the same distance from the transfer node. They're both 6 pipe blocks away, including the transfer node. So it has issues. It'll pick and try and split. It's not a perfectly even split, I don't believe, but it does its best, and it splits it across those 2 pipes. But it'll always try and put it in the first path. So our filter pipe here is doing that. It's filtering out as items come through. They check and say, okay, well, am I a diamond, redstone, peridot, fire shard, blah, 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 right? Or what I have in this filter here. No, I'm not, so I'm going to keep going forward. And then it starts to fill up these chests. There's no actual filters on them. All I've got here is an inverted filter saying, don't put cobble in here, and don't put cobble in here. That's why there's cobble in this chest. And I'll show you why that's that. So, we can see that input filters are just like the extraction filters, except they do it on the way in instead of the way out. As we move forward, you see that I have an inverted pipe, an inverted filter in here. By default, filters act as whitelists, saying you can only put in what I have said. But you can also make them inverted, which turns them into a blacklist, which says accept everything but this. To do that, it's really easy. You just take a redstone torch and put it with your filter, whether or not there's something in it. Doesn't matter. And it creates an inverted filter. So that is the beauty of these filters. You can turn them into things pre-configured. You can work with them pre-configured. If I start by putting a filter on an extraction system and want to turn it into a filter on a filter pipe, I can just pick it up and move it, and I don't have to reset it. I love it. It's a really, really, really good system. Now, there are a couple of other types of filters, and these are actually relatively new to 1.7.10, or at least 1.7 in general. I didn't play with ExtraUtilities on 1.7.2. I don't even know if it was out for 1.7.2. But on 1.7.10, there are a couple of other filters, and that's what we saw here. We can add two different fuzzy settings to the filters. We can add a fuzzy setting that ignores metadata, and we can add a fuzzy setting that ignores NBT data. How I've used that in this sorting system is with the idea of enchanted items or just armor in general from a mob farm. So for the time being, I'm going to stop this, and I'm going to tell this to just hurry it up. Boom, 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 boom. All right. So that'll just cruise through there for a minute and get rid of all that junk for me. Done. All right. So what is happening here? Basically, what I've got set up right now is to filter so that my armor comes in here. So say you have a mob farm. Mob farms, especially in modded Minecraft, tend to produce a lot of armor. They tend to produce a lot of enchanted armor and broken armor. And they tend to be a bit of a pain for sorting systems. Well, that's what these fuzzy things are for. These fuzzy upgrades. If I were to put my enchanted diamond armor in here, I can see that in this filter I have diamond leggings with fiery aura 5 and durability 495. That, I believe, is what these are. So these match that filter perfectly, and obviously will be put in here. The beauty of these fuzzy upgrades are I can put all of these pants in here, and they will all go into this chest. No more pre-configuring things with a bunch of different enchantments. Basically, the fuzzy data that ignores the NBT data is ignoring the specific enchantment on these and saying, okay, I'm just looking at diamond leggings with a durability of 495. And then the ignore metadata is ignoring that durability. That's why we can see that this enchantment, or these diamond leggings with blast protection 5 and full durability are going into the same filter, are going through this filter, and our diamond leggings without any enchantments, and our diamond leggings that are slightly hurt. That's because that's what these two fuzzy settings do. They ignore the enchantment line and the durability line of an item. So all it sees is diamond leggings. Just put all diamond leggings in here. That's all it sees. Basically, behind the scenes, how Minecraft says, well, this is how I want, or how Minecraft distinguishes between enchanted items is using something called NBT data. So we don't see it up front, but it's using NBT data. Some items let you see it in the item ID, such as this 5064:1. That is the behind the scenes information, the secondary information to the item that Minecraft uses and that the modders use to create little sub items or different items within the same class of item. That if this doesn't make sense, just ignore me. But the idea is that Minecraft uses two different information systems, at least, just with items and blocks to dictate whether or not they're the same or just have a different little bit of information on them, such as enchantment on armor, enchantments on armor. And then that is what it uses NBT data for. And then in the metadata, we see the damage value. So this 312:20, we know that that will slowly grow until it reaches 495, and then it'll break. Well, that is another information subsection of an item. That is the metadata that we are ignoring. So that's how Minecraft looks and works in the background a little bit. And these upgrades allow us to ignore that. How we make them is we apply orange wool to the item filter or a redstone, or sorry, we looked at the redstone storage to create the fuzzy NBT ignoring system. we add orange wool, sorry, a little backwards here. And to add the fuzzy metadata, we add a stick to it. And that is that. It works much the same as the inverted recipe for the filters, and it can be really handy. One way you could use this is instead of, I have pre-configured here to use all the different kinds of shards. But we can see here that air shards are 4732, fire shards are 4732-1, water -2, or ;4, ;5. So these are actually all the same item ID, but they have different metadata. If I were to just put, for example, one of these, like the air shard or the entry shard, doesn't matter. in this item filter. So let's pull this out here so we can look at it, because you guys haven't seen it. I'm going to take out all of these filters, right? And I'm going to do this. Boom. So now we've got water shards in this filter, which means it's got 4732 semicolon 2 item ID in the filter. And I'm going to take a stick. Yes, yes, the brave and wonderful stick. And I'm going to craft it with this item filter to create a fuzzy ignoring ignoring metadata. Now, if I decide to pull a couple different stacks of these out, as many as I can anyways, and put them back into our sorting chest here, they should all, they should all still end up in this system. And as you can see, they did. That's because we put the fuzzy NBT detection on, or fuzzy metadata upgrade on it, and that's how these are different. The mod author for Thaumcraft has decided to make it so that the different viz shards are separated by metadata instead of item IDs, and that is really handy for us and our sorting system. So make sure you keep a lookout for that when you're making your sorting system. That can be used to help separate some different ores in the ore dictionary depending on how they're designed, and that can be really handy for different things. So just keep an eye out for that when you're making your sorting system. You don't need to put them all in there. So let's look at a bit of the advanced functionality of the transfer nodes. The item transfer nodes can be used in a few ways, one of which is, wow, lag, I have nothing else running. Still, we're getting better. We're still working on it, but it is getting better. Let me close TeamSpeak. I'm not really using it right now. Okay, so the idea here is that item transfer nodes can be used to interact with the world around it. And that might not make a lot of sense. But here we have an item transfer node on a piece of cobblestone next to a lava source and a water source block. What this is going to allow us to do is to create an automatic cobble gen from these few items. All I have in here that's necessary is one world interaction upgrade. If I pull this out, nothing happens. Right now, what we can see is absolutely nothing is happening. If I put a world interaction upgrade in this, it will begin to generate cobble and just fill it. The way I have it set up is I have 4 world interactions upgrades in it, and that increases the rate at which it collects cobble. Then I have speed upgrades, which again increase the rate at which it searches for a place to go. And obviously there's nothing connected to it. I have an ender transmitter connected to it. And I'll explain that in a second. But we can see that this is a great way to generate cobble. And it's important to note that when you put your lava and water source down, you want this piece of cobblestone to be in the middle first. If it's not, you'll create obsidian, and that's going to cause a problem. So put some cobblestone down to separate it, then put your liquids down, and then put your transfer node on top of it, and you should be good to go. The fluid transfer node, or liquid transfer node, can move any kind of liquid around its system as well, but it also respects the Minecraft physics of infinite water sources. I have a world interaction upgrade in here with speed, and it currently holds 8 buckets of water in its internal capacity or internal buffer and looks for a place to send it. Right now, I don't have anywhere to send it. So let's break some of these because we don't need them anymore. It's kind of an odd... Okay. And let's do this. I'm going to get a tank. I want a big tank. I want to make you guys sit through this. Yes, I do. So let's say, oh, that is a boiler. That's not what I want. Let's say I have a really big tank. For example, a steel tank from Railcraft. Now, these guys are beast-like. They can be quite large. So the steel tanks are the larger capacity of the different blocks. And just for the sake of today, that's what I'm going to use. And this is going to allow us to move some stuff around without having to have separate piping systems. This is one of the things I love about ExtraUtilities, is you can have all of this stuff going through one main pipe, and you won't have to worry about it, because the beauty of it is that because nothing is going through the pipe, it can't get clogged. Now, obviously, the system of clogging is sort of intentional, I guess, for some mods, But what it does do is it creates a lot of strain on your system. And it's funny, I'm talking about how much strain on your system items being clogged up gives you, but for some reason, just running this is putting so much strain on my system right now. It's completely not normal. Anyways, so what was I talking about? Oh yeah. The idea behind this mod being server friendly is great. There are some things in this that he just thought, the mod author thought, I would love to see this in Minecraft. So he put it in. And it's just a collection of handy tools. But then there are some things like that are in other mods that are really hard on your server. And he thought, well, they work really well. And I'm not going to make them like, I'm not going to be able to make them so that people will use mine over theirs on purpose. But if you are having trouble with a server, I'm going to give you some alternatives. So there are some alternative pumps and automatic mining systems in this mod that will allow you to man, I'm having issues. To do the same things that you would with other mods, but with a little bit less strain on your system. I am almost done here and almost done gabbing. So let's see this guy fill up with water, shall we? Boom, there we go. So in little bursts, you'll see this begin to fill up with water. This is the same pipe, remember, that our items are coming down. So you got some speed going in here, you got some, yep. Let's just increase the speed of this for my enjoyment. Boop, boop. Alright, that should be virtually instantaneous. That's actually kind of probably hard in your system. That's not the best idea in the world to do that, but you can see that we're just filling up with water. This tank holds 4 million millibuckets, so 4,000 buckets of water, and it will fill that up rather quickly. All the while, I can continue sorting my items. Awesome. I'm going to take some of these out, though, because I just don't think that's a good idea to have all those in there. It might not even make a difference past a certain point. All right. So, along with items and liquids, you can include energy in your pipes. Energy in the form of RF. That is what these are. Energy transfer nodes. Right now, I have hooked up a survivalist generator from ExtraUtilities directly to this energy transfer node. And it is going to accumulate energy in an internal buffer if it has nowhere else to go. But since it does have somewhere else to go, it did anyways, it took a long time for this to get full. As we can see, I have a hardened energy cell that is full of energy, as well as this fancy guy over here, also full of energy, and a redstone furnace full of energy. That's because I have some piping connecting the energy cell, as well as this ender transmitter in here. The energy transfer node will take Buildcraft power, MJs, or the thermal foundation base power, RF, redstone flux, and it will store it and move it around through ender transmitters, or through regular pipes, or through energy pipes. And this is a great system for doing this. Because what happens is I can hook this up to my main system if I want and have a machine over there that'll just continue to process. I can move all of my ores into that redstone furnace with power in the same line and save all these different block faces. I love it. It's fantastic. So there's not a lot of blocks in ExtraUtilities that use power, but there are quite a few that generate power. And we're going to go more in depth into the generators and power consumers in the next episode. But to finish this one off, I want to look at these ender transmitters and these fancy pipes. These energy pipes can be hooked up in series with the regular transport pipes. But what they do is they limit the transport through here to just energy. That's what these red pipes are. They just work with energy. All right. So what that means is that if I have a system with lots of pipes branching off here, and I want to make sure items don't accidentally get sent into here, if there was an inventory slot for it, I can do that just by attaching an energy pipe. It'll continue to transmit the energy down, but the items will stop. Sweet. So that's that. These red pipes with yellow on them are energy extraction pipes. They will pull RF from any inventory containing power and push it into a transfer node. They will not push it into machines. These only interact outputting energy into energy nodes, not machines. That's very important. That may be confusing, but that's why they're called energy extraction pipes. They only remove RF power from generators. That being said, keep in mind that they will not work with dynamos from thermal expansion or thermal foundation. However, I believe that's part of the thermal expansion mod, not the foundation part. But dynamos do not hold energy the same way that most other generators do. They don't allow it to be accessed from outside. They have to push it out. So these energy extraction pipes will not work with dynamos from thermal expansion. And no matter what you connect them to generating RF from other mods, make sure there's an energy node somewhere in it to convert that power from being pulled in or being the export power and sending it out. So that is the basics of the transfer nodes and the transfer pipes. Let's look at real quick before we finish the Ender transmitters. These are really sweet. Basically, these are upgrades that you build, and I'll show you the recipe later, more in depth in that little flash there, that allow you to transfer items, fluids, or power over a long distance, or even across different dimensions. You need a transmitter, and you need a receiver. Basically what you do is you configure them to be public or private by right-clicking them when they're in your hotbar. So if I pull this guy out, I right-click, it says spectrum set to public, spectrum set to private. Alright, that means only my opposing pair will work. Only the Tausti's receiver set to infinity power will work with this. And that brings us to how to set the frequency. Basically what you do is you take these guys and say you want them to work in the nether and send to your main base. So we're going to say our ender receiver to nether, and we're going to set our ender. What just happened? I didn't do it right, did I? Whew. Ender, nether. That's what I want. Nether. Man, that's loud. And then we're gonna set our transmitter to nether as well. Now these two things are linked together. Anything that goes into the transfer node that it's connected to, whether it's an item, fluid, or power transfer node, doesn't really matter. If I were to throw the transmitter in there, it would send it to the receiver also labeled as nether. So they just have to match a name together. That should make sense. If they don't match, make sure there's no typos or anything, because if they are, you have to waste another 5 levels to rename them. And that's no good. But anyways, that is the end of this episode. We're going to continue on looking at the power generators and power consumers in this mod, and then we get to look at a lot of the really cool little items and blocks and things that it adds. But until next time, I am Tausti, and you have been watching Infinity Labs. I hope you guys have a good day. I will see you next time. Deuces.